Welcome to Unsung Heroes Live. Life's biggest questions are answered through intimate conversations with people just like you who've risen above life's challenges and desire to share their knowledge to help others. I am your host, Christy Knights. All right. Good afternoon. I am here with Brian, and we are talking about the importance of exercise and his goals that he set for himself and the journey that he has had. And Brian, I just want to thank you so much. If you don't mind sharing with us what brought you to, okay, let's start again, Brian.
Sure.
I apologize. I had someone walk into my space. Okay.
Oh.
That usually doesn't happen. All right. All right, good afternoon. Thank you everybody for joining us here at Unsung Heroes Live. I am here with Brian Pandji, and we are talking about his success as an unsung hero and his journey. Brian grew up in a town called Jakarta, the capital city of Indonesia on the Java Island. He spent his college and working days in San Francisco, California, problem-solving computer programs in the telecommunications and high-tech industry. Having the desire to control his own future upon the birth of his first son, he decided to introduce CrossFit, the sport of fitness, to his home country. The learning experience for Brian was priceless, but after 5 years of financial struggle in the business and personally, Brian decided it was time to leave and focus on what's important: family and a peaceful mind. Brian sold the business and is now a life coach and gym manager in Lawrence, Kansas. He guides by listening, asking questions, and providing simple tools to create new routines for a new mindset. That is awesome. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you so much, Christy, for this opportunity to be able to talk to you on this podcast.
You're most welcome. I really appreciate you taking time out to spend some time with me and to share with our listeners your incredible story. So can you share with me a little bit about your life story, in particular, flesh out what led you to where you're at today, a little bit more than your introduction?
Yeah, my life has been sort of like a roller coaster ride, I guess. It's been, I used to live in Jakarta, Indonesia, which is a third world country. There's some struggle there trying to fit in, obviously, because at the time when I was growing up, there was racial struggle and sort of big financial gap within the community. And then living there and then moving to America for my college years took some adjustments as well, and sort of in my career as well. So I've learned a lot of things throughout my life, and I'm very grateful that I have the courage to actually go through it. But actually, I'm very grateful to get all the opportunities for me to learn from it. It hasn't always been successful. There's some failures here and there. But long story short, I lived in Indonesia, moved to America to go to school and to work. And actually, then I moved back to Indonesia to open up that gym. And then now I'm back in America, sort of doing my own thing with my with my family. That's now I have a 7-year-old son and a 3-month-old daughter.
Great. So share with us, Brian, what was that transition like in the college years when you first came to America? What led you to make that that decision, and what was it like for you emotionally?
The decision was made, and it's a very interesting story because my parents actually did go to school in San Francisco, specifically in the University of San Francisco. So growing up, they always talked about how they met in that college and how eventually I'd go to college there and be able to live in America, which for someone who lives in Indonesia was like a really cool dream to have.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to leave abruptly though because of the 1998 riot that happened. One of the president that has been on the throne for believe, over 30 years, was overthrown through this huge riot that happened against the Chinese, and I'm Chinese. And so we had to leave abruptly in 1998. So I left for high school, and it was sort of like, yeah, I was going to go to college eventually there. It was like going to be a really cool moment. Then it became sort of like, hey, let's just leave right away. And then told my friends, hey, I'm not coming back anymore, actually. I'm just going, I told I was going on vacation, but decided I wasn't going to come back. So it was rough, having to, as a teenager, I was 18 years old, I think, at that time, to suddenly say, well, my parents said, well, you have to go to summer school here, go through high school, which I didn't expect to do that, and live with my grandparents. And I think growing up as a teenager, just like any other teenager, you just want to fit in. You just want people to like you. You want to be part of the boys. You wanna be liked by girls. These are just these are just common struggles. It was it it. I was lucky enough that I had people who were supportive throughout my high school transition. People who were willing to sort of be with me and sort of understand where I came from and learn the uniqueness of the culture that I came from. They helped me fit in. So that was good. And actually the 1 year that I spent here in high school was a blessing in disguise. Being there for 1 year helped the transition coming into college. So it wasn't much more of a surprise. Like I was a little bit more comfortable with the language and the different slangs, and being able to sort of talk to people and be more comfortable to talk to people and create a better sort of first year of college experience.
Absolutely. Wow. That must have been such an incredible experience and very difficult. What would you say was the most difficult in the transition in college?
I think for me was being brave enough to talk to people. Maybe I'm a little bit more introverted. I don't know. I feel like I'm shifting every day towards introverted or extroverted, but I've always felt like I wanted to be able to talk to people more often. And growing up, my parents always told me, well, I was able to progress in learning how to speak English because I was never afraid to talk to people in English. My cousins actually grew up here in America, so when we meet, it's like I have to speak the language. If not, I can't play with them.
Yes.
So I think it was sort of just that push, like, you see someone and you want to talk to them and just saying whatever to start the conversation. And because you just want to have friends, even when you're in college. You don't want to be stuck in your own dorm room. You want to go have friends, have fun, and just sort of having the courage to come up to someone and talk to them, and understanding that they're probably in the same situation as you are, because you're both freshmen in college, and that just makes it a lot easier to transition in.
Yeah, absolutely. So you go through college. At the end of college, you graduate. At what point did you feel passionate about CrossFit and the importance of it being introduced into your home country?
It's a good question. I like to ask people that question now too. Why did they come to do CrossFit? CrossFit is a very hard thing to do. A lot of people say that they are brought into the sport because of their friends. When for me, growing up, my parents has always tried to put me into some kind of martial arts, I think, to develop discipline, which I'm very grateful for now, because that's the one thing that I know I can count on when things go hard. And so it's always been studying, but there has to be some sort of physical activity. Like in my mind, it's like exercise is just something I need to have within my life. It's sort of like a recreation. And throughout college, I was into kickboxing. I did that. And it was fun. It was also a contact sport, so I would get hurt, once in a while. And then I realized after listening on the radio, Jack LaLanne, which I think the father of fitness just recently passed away, talking about CrossFit, how you can get fit by doing functional movements in 15 minutes. I'm like, well, that's sort of cool because I was busy working at that time, and if I could just, if the only thing I'm looking for is to lose weight and get fit, and I could do that in 15 minutes, then that's the place for me to be. So that's why I came into CrossFit. When I joined the gym, and I got certified for CrossFit level 1, I realized that the sport was much bigger than what is being advertised. It's not just a 15-minute workout. It literally teaches you functional movements that you can do that it can translate to your everyday life. And I never thought of exercise that way, sort of. I sort of always thought of exercise. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm sure some of our listeners are saying, what is CrossFit? So can you give us a working definition of CrossFit and then continue with your story?
Sure. CrossFit likes to define itself as high intensity functional movement. But basically, the easy way to look at it is think about the things that you would do every day in your life, like walk, run, squat, jump, push, pull, throw. Those are very basic human functions, and mix it all up into a short and intense workout. So the way you want to look at, the way I like to look at it is instead of me working out to develop muscles and aesthetics the way I want to look, I am working out so I can function better.
I like that. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, so I changed my mindset there. I realized that, exercise is not about looking good or lifting a lot of heavy weights, but it's more about what you can do for the rest of your life. Sustainable health and fitness. And that really attracted to me because also it created a purpose for me, because then if I were to do this and I can be good at it and I can share it with someone else, that means I may have made an impact in the world. And to me, that meant a lot. So that's when my CrossFit journey started.
Great. So what steps did you have to take in order to introduce it into your home country?
So at that time, it was very simple because it was in the very early stages. You just had to get certified. And then after that, get affiliated and then be able to open a gym. And a lot of the gyms at that time, that was 2007, was just run out of their garage. So for me, it was like a good, easy way for me to ease my way into entrepreneurship without actually making things complicated, like finding a space and all of these different things. And there was always this urge for me to go back to Indonesia because I felt like that was home. Like I grew up there during my teenage years, but never during my adult years. I just wanted to know what it was going to be like.
Yes.
And I knew like the country and the culture has already also changed. They've opened their mind a lot more nowadays than when I was growing up. So I was curious what it would be like. So what I did was I had my first son, and then I took a leave of absence 1 year out of my work. And then went to Indonesia, got converted our one car garage into a gym, and then just invited all of my friends and families to work out with us there. And that's how it started. That was technically, as silly as it sounds, that was the first CrossFit gym in Indonesia. And, 5 years later, there's probably about 8 currently. And nobody's running out of their garage anymore. Now it actually looks like a real gym, which is pretty cool to see that growth and that legacy that I've left.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you feel about the growth and watching it?
It's nice to see. It's interesting that you asked that question because during the time when I was in the business, I was happy that it was growing, but at the same time, it was it didn't happen the way I wanted it to be, sort of. Like it's sort of like when you're a gym and you're the first one, you want it to be associated with everything that's gone together with you. But
Yes.
sometimes people open up another business because they don't like yours. That's just what it is. They're
Mm-hmm.
trying to fill in a gap that they didn't find, so they open that up. And sometimes that also translates to you losing your own members to that gym. And if you are not peaceful, if you don't have the right mindset to understand that that's okay, it can eat you. And I think that's what happened to me when
Yeah.
I was there. But looking back, it's wonderful. Like just recently, I had someone come in all the way from Blue Springs, which is about like an hour away, to come to Lawrence to meet me because she said she found CrossFit in Indonesia and she found out I was here. She wanted to meet me, and I started talking to her, asking her questions about how she found it, what did she like about the gym back there, and
Yes.
it's just nice to see that the culture continues. And at
Yes.
the end of the day, this person that I met, she moved to Indonesia as an English teacher, and CrossFit was the one thing that sort of accepted her and created a community to help her fit into the country.
Mhm.
So it's good to see that, and I'm happy that I was able to be a catalyst for that.
Yes. Yes. So during that time of transition where you sold the CrossFit business and what you were become aware of as other people were setting up business as well, what emotions
Mm.
did you go through? What stressors did you experience?
What what was that? Sorry, you got cut off a little bit. Emotions, you said?
Yes, what emotions or what stressors did you experience as you saw other businesses coming up, people leaving, going, your decision to close the business? What were you going through emotionally?
Um, this was maybe an exaggeration, but it's betrayal. I mean, it
Yes.
was rough. I had a hard time, and I'll be completely honest, and that's why we had financial struggle. That's why I had my own personal struggle with my with uh, at home because it was rough to see someone that you sort of taught everything you knew and then left the gym to open another one to eventually steal all your members.
Mm-hmm.
But if I put it that way, and that was the story I told to myself, then
Yes.
yeah, I would feel stressed out. I would feel depressed.
Right.
But in truth, it was not that. I mean, if I could look at it from a different perspective, which I can now with clarity, um, that was ultimately why I started the first gym in Indonesia, to
Yeah.
share that passion and to grow this cool sort of concept of health and fitness throughout the whole country. And I couldn't do that just by myself. And I, I had to share as much as I could in order for it to grow.
Yes.
So I think the emotion would be betrayal, but that's a sort of, you have to first identify that as a negative emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And what can you do to change that story, to
Yeah.
respond to it instead of reacting to it? Because
Mm-hmm.
what I did was I reacted to it, and that didn't go anywhere. That just made my members more unhappy,
Yes.
me more uneasy, and making really poor decisions for the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think oftentimes when we feel those negative emotions or we experience them in life, you're right, that instinct is just to react. But it's
That's
when
right.
we're able to take that deep breath and not react, but shift our mindset that we're able to see the life lessons from it rather than what we would normally call the failures.
That's right.
So
And I
share.
think that's what's really cool about, sorry, I think that's really cool about entrepreneurship because when you become entrepreneur, how you respond to every single situation, the success of how you respond to every situation determines the success of your business.
Mm, yes. Can you repeat that one more time? That was powerful.
I think the success the success of how you respond to a situation when you own a business determines the success of your business.
Yes.
And ultimately, it happens the same way with your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
How you respond to your thoughts and emotions that happen within you determines the success of your life.
Yes. So through that time, Brian, talk to us about how you came from this feeling of betrayal to where you are today as an incredible life coach and the manager of a gym. Talk to us about how you rose from that place. What skills did you use? How did you talk to yourself? Were there roadblocks? Let's flush that out.
Sure. That feeling of betrayal was with me for a really long time.
Okay.
It was crazy, ridiculous when I look into it.
Yeah.
At being in the business, not on the business, if that makes any sense. Being in the business means you're doing everything, like I'm coaching class, I'm talking to people, I'm getting people, instead of looking at the business from the outside.
Yes.
It's just two different things. And if you consistently work in the business, especially with this feeling, you'll never realize it. It's hard, it's difficult. And I think these are the type of struggles entrepreneurs like to talk about, which can be beneficial and rewarding if you're able to see it.
Yes.
So, to be honest, I wasn't able to actually see this until I actually left. And that was a hard thing for me to realize that I may not be the right person in this business at this moment because of my mindset. And I couldn't change it while I was in it because I was still meeting those people. I was still talking to those people. I was still seeing the feeds on Instagram or on Facebook.
Yes.
Until you actually take some time out of that situation and sort of spend time with yourself. So the decision I made that made me feel better at that moment was to meditate. And that stage taking the meditation was a few steps. I read a few blogs and then tried to understand what it meant to be on my own, understand breathing exercises, and actually just sitting still for 10 minutes. Took a lot of practice, but being outside of that business looking in can be done a few ways. One is obviously you can take a vacation, be like, give it off to your trainer, and I'm gonna take a vacation, think about everything, and then come back. You can also just leave the business and decide to sell it, to give it to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But the most productive, sort of efficient, simplest way is just spend some time with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Take some time out.
Yes.
10 minutes, 15 minutes, find a nice quiet place to sit, close your eyes, and just listen to your thoughts and emotions, identify that it's not yours.
What
And
would
then
you say,
from there,
Brian?
make a decision, oh, it's the best way forward.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
that's okay. What would you say, Brian, to people who may say to you, but I can't quiet my mind. I can't find the time. They start to create excuses for shifting that mindset by sitting in silence. What would you say to them?
I think that the mind does never quiet. You just should accept that that's okay. I don't like to think of when I meditate, close my eyes, that I'm actually emptying my mind. It's not that. I'm acknowledging that things are happening within my mind by identifying those as two things. Am I thinking or am I feeling? And then if it's a thought or if it's an emotion, then mark it as it is, label it as it is. It's just a thought, just an emotion. It's not me. It's not define me. So when people say I can't stay still, when I close my eyes, there's like all these things come on your head. Well, yeah, it's supposed to happen. That's what your brain's supposed to do. It's supposed to think. But then, what are you gonna do with those thoughts and emotions? Are you gonna say that? Let's say you close your eyes and you think, oh my gosh, I hate that trainer. He like stole my member. So that's a thought and an emotion of betrayal. And if you say, okay, I feel betrayed, you identify with that emotion, then that's how you're going to start feeling negative about yourself. What if you just said, well, he made the decision to do that. This is just a thought and emotion. It's just a feeling of betrayal, but I don't feel betrayed. And you can let it go, then you've successfully meditated and you successfully accepted the situation.
Yes, that is so powerful. Thank you. I love that ability to sit in the quiet and your suggestion of the thoughts will come and that's okay. You know, that is who we are. That's how we're wired. Acknowledge that they will continue to come, but it's what we do with them. I think that's really powerful because oftentimes, you know, our listeners or people who struggle with anxiety or depression become overwhelmed when the thoughts don't stop and they just want the thoughts to stop. But giving them space, validation that it's going to occur creates freedom, whether they're attempting to build a business or just living day to day in life. So can you give us an example, Brian, of how you have used this skill as a husband, as a friend, as a father?
Sure. And that's a very good question because this is actually a lot of the struggles that happens in my life in this situation because as a father and as a husband, and I work from home a lot. It's these are the people I interact with most of the time. I think in relationships, um, you sort of have to be. I think so in CrossFit, I'll just try to relate this to exercise and fitness.
Great.
If you wanted to lift weights, you have to first be comfortable with moving your own body weight. So we say, are you strong enough to lift weights? I think it's the same way. If you want to be able to respond to certain things that maybe your spouse would do or your son or your daughter would do, you first have to be good enough in responding to your own feelings. You can't. So I feel like if someone were to say, I have trouble responding to the things that my wife would say to me, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, how much are you spending time on the thoughts and emotions that's coming up within your own head? If you haven't done that, then you haven't really practiced self-awareness. So you first must have this awareness of these thoughts and emotions that happen in your head before you can carefully and sort of effectively respond to the outer things that may happen to you. So for example, if I come home from work and then my wife said something like, how come it takes you so long? How come you come home so late, for example?
Mm-hmm.
And she's probably, I don't know why she's asking that. Maybe she's having a hard time taking care of the baby, or maybe she's just worried about me.
Mm-hmm.
But I could react that poorly and get into an argument.
Yes.
But I need to be able to find out first, after she says that, what is coming up in my head? What am I feeling? If I'm feeling, I'm feeling attacked, like, oh no, or something is being triggered from the past that made me feel guilty. If I can identify first, have that awareness that, oh, I'm being triggered, I'm about to get angry, then you can diffuse it. But if you don't, you're not aware of your thoughts and emotions, you're only going to react the one way you know best, which could be negative, and most probably will.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So whenever we talk about betrayal, what did you find, you know, in people in general, what's the most common reason people give up when they're feeling betrayed, whether it's in business or in their personal relationships?
It's a good question. Can you tell me a little bit more about that question? What do you mean?
Yeah, so we experience betrayal in our lives all the time. It may be in business and it may be in our personal life. You experienced it definitely in the business and had to work through betrayal. When,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, whenever you are working with people, what do you teach them in terms of if they've been betrayed, how do they work through that feeling? How did you work through that feeling?
I try to come back to the main purpose or the why.
Yes.
So using CrossFit, for example, and this is just one good example. And to be honest, I believe that a lot of CrossFit affiliate owners have experienced this, especially if they're an early adopter. They're one of the first in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so you open, just use an example, I opened my first gym and with a certain passion, with a certain why, which is to be able to help people around me and ultimately maybe the whole country move better and function better. That's my main purpose. That's why I opened up the gym.
Yes.
And then one of my trainers that I probably have coached for many years decided to leave and open a gym. Then I feel betrayed and I forgot why I first opened it, why the real reason, the why I first opened that gym.
Yes.
If I could really remind myself at that time, have the awareness, just like what I talked about earlier, someone left and be the awareness that he left and just identify that he just left and open up a new gym. That's just what it is.
Yes.
Marie likes to say, make the business be your business, and that's what it is. That's just what happened. Nothing to do with you. He just decided to make that decision.
Yes.
And the feeling that I'm having is betrayal, but that does not define who I am. That's just the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing you want to do is decide and be aware, why did you open up the gym the first time?
Yes.
And the second thing, why did I even coach and teach this person everything I knew? The real reason behind it is always bigger than this small reactions that comes out from these things that happen.
Yes, that's great. All back to that mindset and the importance of the mindset.
That's right.
So, as you work with people in life coaching, is there a particular tagline of advice that you use? You know, for me, when I work with coaching clients or counseling clients or whatever it may be, I'll often say to them, just be real, just be you. And when we find that authenticity, we're able to truly work through anything. So for you, is there something that you know they would say, oh yeah, Brian said that to me too, that you really have shared with your clients that have been useful?
Mm-hmm. Just by the way, I want to commend you on that tagline. That's super important. That's something that I've just realized in just this past year. 2017 was a year of discovery for me.
Mm-hmm.
If there's one clarity that I've realized, is being vulnerable will reveal the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the truth about you, but the truth about how other people are behaving around you. And I think for a lot of guys, we fear to be vulnerable. We feel to be raw, especially to the people that are close to us, mainly like our spouse. It's like guys don't like talk about their feelings
Mm-hmm.
because they're afraid of being perceived untough or uncool,
Yes.
or many even worse other things. I think if you can identify, understand the feeling that you have and be willing to share it, I think other guys can really be surprised about what doors will open for them.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question, Christy, I don't really have a specific tagline. I feel like people come up to me and we talk about many different situations. And I think when I work with a lot of my clients, what they end up realizing is that they have this fear to be great. They don't feel like they're good enough to get what they want.
Yes.
And this is really unfortunate because then you're just creating limiting beliefs after limiting beliefs to get where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could just believe that you are good enough to do anything that you want to do, your brain's going to start working. Because your brain your rational mind has been thinking all these years, and you've been training it to do this and that. A lot of people, and if you're working, you're professional, then you are very resourceful. You know how to solve problems, and you know how to set up specific paths progressively to get where you want to be, to get where the company needs to be, or to get your career to be where you want to be. So if you have a thought of like who you want to be and what do you want to have, if you believe that you're good enough, that's all you need to fix. Once you believe that you can do it and you believe that you're good enough for it, you will start coming up with new resources that will push you through these different obstacles that you never realized you had.
Yes. Very powerful. Thank you so much. So Brian, you have really shared so much today. Can you share with us how, if a client wants to work with you, if a listener wants to work with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Currently, I think the best place to go is to go to my website, brianpandji.com. There'll be a link there where you can schedule a complimentary 30-minute coaching session.
Great.
There'll be a scheduling app, and we'll find a time that works. If you already have a question, you sort of want to go through it, let's set up that time. I'd be more than happy to help you determine whether that struggle is actually real or if that fear is actually real, and then hopefully maximize the 30 minutes for you to use your own resources to create a good step-by-step path forward to get what you
Great. Great. Thank you so much. And
Thank
thank you so much for your time today. You know, oftentimes people feel betrayed even by themselves. They're betrayed by their own thoughts, by people around them. And you really spoke to the heart of the matter today through your own life experiences, being willing to be open and vulnerable, to be raw with our audience. And Brian, that is just such an inspiration to myself, and I'm sure to our listeners, the journey that you have taken from a place where you felt betrayed to this place of empowerment and strength where you are creating a legacy of giving back to others and teaching them how to truly honor who they are and their own authenticity through exercise and care of the mind and body. So I applaud you for your work. I am so excited that you and I got to share space today. And I definitely want to invite you back in the future to talk with us again. Would you be willing to do that?
Of course, Christy, it would be an honor. Thank you.
Great, great, Brian. Is there anything else you want to leave for our listeners before we end our podcast today?
No, I think I think I've shared a lot, and I'm very grateful I had the opportunity. And if there's anything else that you guys want to talk through, reach out to me and know that you can do better than you think. And hopefully we can connect. And if not, I wish you the best and continue to believe in yourself.
Thank you so much. And thank you for that offer of a free 30-minute coaching consultation. I have no doubt that our listeners will truly appreciate that gift that you've given to them. Well, this is Christy with Brian, and we thank you for another episode of the Unsung Heroes Live. And don't forget, each day in your life to be real, be raw, just be who you are. Thank you for joining this episode of Unsung Heroes Live. Each week, we highlight a hero that has created a life of joy and peace despite the challenges. Through their transparency, life's biggest questions are answered. For additional resources and community support, go to www.christyknights.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Christy Knights. Be real, be raw, just be the hero that you are.